Good afternoon. Welcome to the Embedded Executive Podcast. I am Rich Nass with Embedded Computing Design, and this week's guest is Ed Casti. He is a Senior Vice President of the ultra low power business at GlobalFoundries. How you doing, Ed?
Great. Thanks, Rich, for having me here today. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
You sure about that? You sounded a little undecided.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. So, you guys are one of the big guys. So I won't say you set the rules, but you have a lot of say in what the rules are when it comes to what the standards are out there. So we want to talk about low power at the edge. This is something that we talk about a lot. I was at Embedded World a few weeks ago, and it was definitely the edge AI part of it was every conversation. But it led to, okay, well, how do we secure the edge? Okay, and then how do we power the edge? And this is where you come in. Is this as big a challenge as people are saying that it is? Being able to achieve the efficiencies that we need to do at the edge.
Yeah, it's certainly a big challenge, Rich, but that's what gets us out of bed in the morning because that's also where the opportunities are. And when we talk about edge devices, they're typically battery powered, and then the primary user concern becomes the battery life, right? Because accessing a remote deployment of an IoT or an edge device in a corner of a building, corner of an office, these things are by nature hard to get to. And I think the table stakes is a 2-year battery life for when a user is willing to break out the step ladder, find the right charging cable, and go up and spend a few hours charging that device. I think 2 years is the table stakes. And one of the things that differentiates those edge devices from, for example, the data center chip is not just the battery, but the fact that they spend a lot of their time in the off state, right? They're not running all of the time. Now, imagine in the data center, you're not going to spend $30,000 on the latest GPU just to have it sit idle most of its life. But actually, in the IoT space, in edge deployments, these devices are mostly off, which means that leakage is very important because leakage is what drains the battery in the off state and limits that 2-year battery life or whatever the target is. But then it also means the device has to be very responsive to wake up, to process a workload when that's needed, which also brings the active power management into play as a strong consideration. But those are the two things, leakage power, active power, that, when they're solved for, produce the most functionality at the longest battery life.
Are you able to quantify the power levels that you're talking about? I know you threw out 2 years to actually change a battery, but what are the voltage current power levels that we're talking about?
I mean, the other challenge of edge AI is that the use cases vary very widely. The form factors vary very widely. And so I may be talking about a home security camera that runs on 2 AA batteries, right? And so you can just run the math on the milliamp hours involved so that you have a long lifetime optimizing for standby leakage, but also active power, depending on the mission profile or the use cases of that device. But instead of a AA battery, it might be running on a coin cell, or it might actually be running with energy harvesting, right? Taking energy out of the radio waves in the environment, just to provide that minimum amount of energy to support the standby for that device. So the application conditions drive those requirements, and they vary very, very widely, which means we have to have a very flexible set of offerings, very complete set of offerings for our customers designing those products.
So I need you to educate me on the relationship that you have here with your customers, because they tend to always take credit for the things that they do to get these great power levels. I don't want to name names, but we know who the guys are who are making these power components or the processors that are running at very low levels. They seem to claim that it's their doings that are making these low power levels. And you're saying that it's actually GlobalFoundries, or is it because of the partnership? And where is that line? Who does the innovation? You or your customer?
It's actually, that's a great question, and it's done in very close collaboration because there's an optimization of product performance that can be done even better when you have a good understanding of the underlying technology and the knobs that can be turned and exploited to create, functionality at the lowest possible power. So we do work hand in hand with our customers. They're driving great innovation on circuit techniques and architectures that give the system the best performance. But we're working equally hard to innovate on the underlying technology to give them two things, really a ton of flexibility in how they do their designs. They will have blocks that need the most performance, and so we give them, what's called like ultra low VT devices that have the best performance. But then they have blocks that are optimized for always on modes and very low power consumption. So we give them ultra high VT threshold device voltage devices for those applications. We give them a variety of gate lengths and other tools where they can mix and match depending on the individual block within the design to either squeeze out the most performance at a lower power or to really optimize power in the blocks that are always on, doing the housekeeping and monitoring for that device to wake up and do more. So flexibility is one thing, but then ultimately features that we design into our wafer technologies are unlock another level of performance beyond that flexibility. So we do a lot of optimization in the technology itself to create very low leakage devices, high mobility devices, which means that they can achieve higher performance while consuming lower power, as well as innovation in memories and all of the blocks that go into an SoC.
Are your customers always maximizing what you guys have to offer? Are they pushing the envelope as far as GlobalFoundries thinks that they should?
We try to push that envelope together, and we do that by, the more close in partnership that we can work, we can really get to what is the bottleneck, what is that thing that is ultimately limiting that next level of reduction in power capability. We can only do that by looking at the problem together from both sides, because oftentimes there are things that we can do that they didn't even know that they could, ask for, and vice versa. The more that we understand about the design, we can spot those bottlenecks and attack them directly with some of our technology innovations.
And are you required to be in silos with various customers? So customer A comes up with this awesome innovation. You can't share that with customer B to help them advance their product, I assume, right?
Of course, yeah. The confidentiality of the individual customer engagements is something that we have at the top of the priority list. We have to honor that in all situations. But the foundry has a really unique position because we see what the whole market is doing, right? We do work with many of the fabless companies that are designing for the same end market opportunity, and we can see the superset of requirements and use that to kind of project where the market is going, how the requirements are going to evolve over time. We also work with not just our customers, but our customers' customers. These are the system houses and OEMs, where again, we're working more tightly across the value chain than ever before to find those bottlenecks and figure out what it takes to create the next breakthrough.
You mentioned energy harvesting earlier. Does GlobalFoundries have a play there?
Yeah, so our play is to create devices that operate at the lowest possible power. Then there are circuit techniques and other elements that our customers bring to the design that complete the loop of that energy harvesting function. But we have some very exciting engagements in that space. where the battery could be made to be extremely small because of the constant recharging, or eliminated in some situations. But that's where our technologies that are optimized for leakage and low power really come into play. For example, our FDX platform is based on a fully depleted silicon on insulator technology, or FDSOI, which has additional knobs, really targeting that low leakage, low power space for always on applications that run on little to no battery.
So let me put you on the spot here. If we're having this conversation, say 12 months or even 18 months from now, what's changed in the conversation from the conversation we're having today?
Yeah, so what I think is very exciting is like the many of the existing IoT products, they have a first level of edge intelligence, edge AI capability. The innovation in that space is incredibly rapid and very, very exciting. So the massive investment that we've seen, the hyper investment that we've seen in the data center to evolve AI models and generative AI and all kinds of new use cases that are coming out are going to be deployed to the edge, right? So we're just at the beginning of seeing that happen, where there was call it a generation one edge AI capability, which was triggered off of wake words. You could talk to a smart speaker or some other appliance, but using very deliberate commands and getting to a limited set of capabilities that were useful and exciting to have for the first time in the products. But now think about another level of AI, in particular, generative AI capability coming to the edge, that will unlock a whole new set of features and capabilities for appliances, but also autonomous systems. We've seen first deployments in automotive space, right, where we have now autonomous vehicles, but we also see a trend where more of that capability will come to other consumer applications and industrial applications, like robotics, all the way up through and including humanoid robotics.
So if I'm reading between the lines here, you're saying this is a super exciting time to be in this space.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly see it that way, and all of the customers that I meet with every day are racing to bring those next innovations to the market. The capability is there now, developed in the cloud. Now the next phase is bringing those capabilities to more devices at the edge.
Okay, I think this is a good place to stop because this is awesome. I think
Great.
what you've outlined is a very very exciting near term future, and I look
Great.
forward to it.
Great. I'm happy you got what you needed, Rich, and very good to have the conversation.
Very good. That was Ed Casti. He is a Senior Vice President of the Low Power Business Unit at GlobalFoundries, and I am Rich Nass with Embedded Computing Design.